Actually, it's completely modern, but retro-like, is this little package, the CB2, the self-proclaimed cheapest and easiest to build open source microprocessor in the world. I thought it would be interesting to build it, take it out for a spin, and then see how it compares to the other 8-bit computers that we're used to. All right, let's open it up and see what we got inside. Okay, nice self-contained package. And a little note telling us to go to the website. Okay. I'm not crazy about all the little components just loose in that big bag. I guess it's not a big deal, but it would have been nicer if they came in a smaller little bag by themselves so they don't get damaged or bent or whatever. But I guess they're mostly resistors, so that's fine. And this is what it looks like with everything sorted and out of the bag. Very straightforward. The only thing is going to be all those resistors. They're probably all different sizes. So we're going to have to look at our color table coding and also use the multimeter to make sure we get the right ones. But yeah, it looks pretty straightforward. We could start soldering right away, but good kits come with a lot of information to make your life as easy as possible. And since this one is billed as an easy kit to build, something for beginners, I expect to have really good info. So it didn't come packaged with any materials, but they have this big note sending us to the website, which seems reasonable to keep the costs down. So let's check out the website. And really the website does not disappoint. It has a whole building guide section very clearly labeled, and it has everything you could possibly want in there. The first thing is a circuit schematic. A lot of beginners might not look at it much, but I love having that. It's the ultimate guide whenever you have some problems or doubts building some component, or really if you build it and then something goes wrong, that's the first place to look as a guide to try to debug the problem. Next up is a PCB layout. Well, again, it's not strictly needed, but it's nice to have again. It could come in handy if something else isn't clear, although I wish the labels were a little easier to read in that diagram. Then it's a photo of the assembled kit. This is really, really handy, especially for beginners. If you get really confused by something, you can always look back at the picture and probably puzzle out how it's supposed to be. For example, that this board accepts the resistors to be built vertically instead of the more normal horizontal layout. Then we have a components list. That is super important because you can A, make sure you got all the components, and B, keep track of which ones you've soldered so far. As a bonus, the components are listed in the order you're supposed to build them, which is usually from smallest to largest, so it doubles as the suggested order list. My only nitpick is that I wish it came with a simple list that I could print out, so white background and simpler and without the pictures, so I could check things off on paper instead of the computer. Other than that, it's totally awesome. But wait, there is more. Then there's a section on good soldering technique. That's really nice to have for someone building their own kit for the first time. It even gets into some of the safety issues and things you're supposed to and not supposed to do. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, I actually made a video about that a while ago. I'm putting a link to it on the corner if you want to check it out. And now it's time to build it. We'll start with the crystal oscillator. Next, we're supposed to solder the microprocessor, but I'm going to put a socket instead. Just want to make sure that I get the number 1 pin mark pointing in the right direction. Yep, that's the one. Okay, that's pretty good. We'll do all the cleaning of the flux at the end. Next, we're supposed to solder the small capacitors, and those you can easily tell by the numbers. So we have 2 that are 22 picofarads, and we have 4 that are 100 nanofarads. These are C3, C4. Just need to look for the markings on the board. I have to say the markings are pretty small, but that's what you get with such a compact board. Oh, interesting. It doesn't say C3 and C4 on the board. Instead, it just says 22 picofarads and 100 nanofarads. That's unusual. Most kits of this type will tell you not the value, but the number of the components. Okay, we got all the capacitors. Then goes the mini USB connector. Those are some pretty tiny connections right there. This might not be the best connections to solder for a beginner. Those are almost SMD connection. I'm better off putting some solder on the tip. Yeah, those were definitely not beginner friendly. Next we have 4 diodes. Fortunately, they're all the same. The thing to remember with diodes is that they have a specific direction. So you're supposed to put them the way they're shown on the board. So for example, that's a diode right there, and you need to match the stripe with the stripe here. So this one would go like that. So you see how it's a little wobbly when I'm doing this? I would have, if I had chosen the order, I would have put the diodes before the microprocessor or the socket, because they're so small and flush up against the board. Then we wouldn't be getting that annoying wobbling. Next up are the 2 electrolytic capacitors. Again, they're both the same, 33 microfarads. The only thing with these is that you need to make sure you put the positive terminal in the positive spot. So there you go, have a little plus. Those are easy to find with the circle. Next is the transistor, which goes here based on the shape. And notice how it has that shape like that, rounded on one side and straight on the other. You're supposed to put it matching the outline of the transistor itself. And because the legs are aligned, I like to move one back a little bit. Like that. Not 2, just 1. And then bend it straight. Like that.